And now, from approximately coast to coast, Bob Elliott and Ray Goulding take pleasure in presenting the Bob and Ray Public Radio Program.
Thank you. Mary Magoon, ladies and gentlemen.
Hello, it's such a joy
And
to be here, Ray.
Mary, I'm Bob.
Bob, I always get you two confused.
Right, and
I can never get you straight.
Webley Webster is here. He
Hello
usually handles
there.
our book reviews and things like that.
How are you, Bob?
I'm just fine, Webb, and it's good to see you again.
Well,
You're
it's
looking
a joy to be here, too.
chipper and
It's a pretty fancy studio. I've never seen one like this with all the curtains and the
know.
parquet floors.
expensive parquet floor.
Yeah?
It was put in just for this show, we're told.
Is that right?
Yeah.
That's something.
And Wally Blue is back there in the green room. He'll be reporting in a little bit later. Who else do we have? Well, we have sponsors. We have some subscribers.
On public radio, we have
Yes,
sponsors.
we do, and these we've carried over from the old days, and we want to thank them. Einbinder, the greatest name in flypaper, is going to help us. This year, more than ever before, make flypaper an important part of your life.
And the Monongahela Metal Foundry, too, maker of shiny steel ingots. Monongahela, the metal foundry that casts its ingots with the housewife in mind.
Keep that in mind. We have that report from Mr. Blue, I'm told right
Okay?
now.
Yes, this is the birthday of, I don't know if you know this, of Fabian Sturdley. He was born in 1868 in Kenosha, Wisconsin. And our correspondent, Wally Blue, is standing by with a report on what's happening at the birthplace of this famous American. He's at Sturdley House, and it's a great tourist attraction, we're told. So come in, please, Wally Ballou.
Lee Ballou at Driftwood, the stately old mansion where Fabian Sturdley was born, and I'm talking with his grandson, Van Tassel Sturdley, who manages this museum out here.
Well, thank you, Mr. Ballou.
Is it true that the house has been restored to the original rundown condition it was in old Mr. Sturdley's time?
Yes, they were going to tear down this grand old salt box to make way for a combination car wash and bowling alley. But a group of public-spirited relatives banded together and have managed to save it and have it declared a public shrine with no taxes to pay.
I understand, I know that Fabian Sturdley, who he was and everything, there may be some, especially children, who don't. Could you tell us something about your grandfather?
Well, I'd say the big thing about him was eccentricity. For instance, he had electric lights in this house as far back as 1912, but because the neighbors laughed at him, he had them all taken out.
Replacing them with kerosene lamps, as the story goes. He took part in the Spanish-American War, I believe.
Yes?
And upon his return, he opened a putty shop here.
Yes. He was so impressed with the usefulness of puttees, so convinced that civilians would want them for walking in tall grass, that he put all his money into his shop here, calling it the House of Puttees.
And I think it was in this very same room that he held his famous meeting with Henry Ford back in 1899.
Well, Mr. Ford came all the way out from Detroit to offer a half interest in his company for $10,000. Of course, Grandpa realized that the automobile would never be more than a plaything for the wealthy, and he turned the offer down.
Right. I was noticing a couple of other things the visitors will see when they come here to fabulous Sturdley House. Here's a pillow that says, "Greetings from San Juan Hill."
Yes, it's filled with balsam needles. It smelled nice for a little while.
Right. And an ashtray from Franconia Notch, New Hampshire.
Yeah.
What's the significance of that hole in the wall with the frame around it?
Well, that was when Grandfather shot at a traveling tinker and missed. He was moody that day because the bottom had fallen out of puttees, and there was a tight money situation, too.
Then there's a kitchen out that way, and
Yeah.
through this door is a small den, and I can see a pile of National Geographics and a picture of a blank Mount Rushmore. Not many of those around, I guess, today, huh?
Oh, that's a very rare, valuable possession, yes.
Upstairs, there are 2 bedrooms and a bath, I'm
Yeah.
told.
They're roped off with a red velvet rope. That's where we live.
Do visitors get to see the attic?
Yeah, there are more geographics up there and about 11 cartons of puttees.
How about the basement?
Well, down there you'll see our cat and our trash cans and several hundred cartons of puttees.
And outside, there's a small parking area.
Well, they can park on the street, too, as long as they don't block the Henshaw's driveway next door. The Henshaws don't like that.
Well, I'd like to thank you.
Well, let me
Van
say
Tass-
that a visit to Sturdley House should be a must if anyone wants to have a real good vacation. We're open from 9 to 5. Admission $5 for adults, $2 for children, and 85 cents for pets.
If one were planning to stop here, how much time should they set aside to be sure they see everything?
What do you mean, including the vegetable garden out back?
Yep, and allowing about 15 or 20 seconds to look at the bullet hole.
About 4.5 minutes.
Okay. Thank you then, Fantastic Sturdley, grandson of Fabian Sturdley. Incidentally, when did he pass on?
Who, Grandpa?
Yes.
Well, who said he died? He's downtown getting a haircut.
Wally Ballou at Sturdley House in Kenosha, Wisconsin, returning it to Bob and Roy.
Well, once again, it's time for Grand Motel, a speck of a place, a heck of a place on Route 14 near Hadleyville, where the mountains reach the sky and living is easy as pie. In today's episode, our action begins with uncompromising owner Leonard Humphrey directing a newly arrived guest to his suite in Grand Motel.
Hell, I'm putting you in Unit 5, mister. Just park your machine over under that sycamore and you won't have far to carry your luggage.
Well, I don't usually have to carry my own stuff in other places where I stay, Mr. What's your name, anyway?
Humphrey, Leonard Humphrey.
Well, I guess that's okay. But as I was telling you, Leonard Humphrey, I don't usually...
No, my name is just Leonard Humphrey. There's only one Humphrey in it.
Well, then, I don't know why you told me there were two. Well, anyway, if you'll stop interrupting me there for a minute, I wanted to say that other motel owners unpacked my car for me and carried the suitcases into the room.
Well, I guess I could do that. We sure can't afford to lose your business.
Well, fine. Come on, I'll open the car trunk for you.
All right.
I got quite a few sample cases in there I want you to carry to the room.
Plus, if you'd park your machine over under that sycamore, it wouldn't be so far to carry things.
No, that's okay. I don't mind.
There's sure a lot of luggage there. It's really got the back of your car weighted down. What kind of samples do you carry with you?
I sell bricks. Naturally, I have to carry several styles of your natural red building brick, your round cornered paving brick, and your light colored adobe. Adobe's getting very popular, you know.
That's so.
Yeah.
I don't know why you need them all carried in, but we can't afford to lose your business.
Wait
so
a minute, Daddy. Don't lift those heavy things till I get there.
All right, Naomi, I can do it all right.
Who's the good-looking chick?
She's my daughter.
Well, I guess that's okay. Have you got any ice around here?
Well, there's,
Oh, Daddy, I'm so glad you've talked this gentleman into staying. We can use the money to have our billboard out on the highway lighted.
Well, Naomi, that can wait. You need a nice new dress, and I want to...
Hey, Humphrey, you never answered my question.
Well, there's an ice chest out
No,
behind...
no, not that question. I asked who the good-looking chick is.
She's my daughter.
Okay. So, which one of you wants to get me some ice?
Well, it's right behind unit number 9. We usually let our guests help themselves.
Daddy,
to it.
my stars, don't offend the man. We need his business.
Well, all right, Naomi, I'm sorry.
Hey, Humphrey, you still didn't answer my question.
She's my daughter.
No, you already answered that one. I asked which one wants to get me some ice.
Well, I will.
No, I will, Daddy. You stay here.
No, that's all right, Naomi, I will.
Look, if you two squabble like this about everything, you could keep me awake all night. A man in my line of work needs his rest. I think I'd better look for a room someplace else. So long.
Well, I'm sorry, Naomi. I guess I failed you again.
Well, can Leonard Humphrey remain uncompromising and hope to succeed in the motel business? Will lighting his billboard on the highway really solve the problem? Perhaps we'll learn more next time when another weary traveler pulls up to Grand Motel. Say, folks, here's a valuable shopping tip. from another of our sponsors, the makers of Einbinder flypaper. Friends, did you know that the giant economy size of Einbinders contains almost 3 times as much flypaper as the standard household package? Yet it costs only 50% more? Now, if you live in a large house or in a section of the country where swarms of flies are extremely dense, it'll pay you to buy in quantity. But wise shoppers don't neglect quality either. That's why the brand to ask for is Einbinders, the flypaper you've gradually grown to trust over the course of 3 generations. So get some today. Well, thank you, Stan. We pride ourselves on our interesting guests, and I think we have a great one here with us now. He's one of the world's most outstanding memory experts. His name is the great, what was that again?
My name is Hubert R. Gruber, Ray.
Well, I thought you were known professionally as the great something or other.
No, I used to be billed as the Great Blotto, but I'm off the stuff now.
Oh, I see. Well, I know that many of our listeners will remember your act from vaudeville days, and I'm sure they'd be interested in knowing, what you're doing now.
Well, I offer my services now to business and industry. I give courses in memory training to their young executives.
Well, that sounds like fascinating work.
Well, you run across a lot of meatheads, but generally I can teach the young businessman to remember the names of people he's introduced to, and that's what's important.
All right, well, could you give us an example of how you do that?
Yes. Suppose you're introduced to a man named Fordyce.
Yeah?
Well, you form a mental picture of 4 dice. And by always associating that image with the man, you never forget his name.
I see. Well, I see. How would that system work with me now? My name is Goulding, see?
Well, let's assume your name was Ramshot. You'd form a mental picture of a hunter shooting a ram, and you'd remember the name that way.
Well, what about my partner, Bob Elliott? How would it work with him?
Well, suppose his name was Richmond. You'd form the image of a man surrounded by a lot of money.
Well, in other words, pal, your system doesn't work with names like ours,
Well,
right?
yes, it does. That's in the advanced training, and I don't want to get into that on the air. Mr.
Goulding.
Yes. Goulding, yes.
So that's what your course consists of then, teaching young executives to remember names?
Well, there's more to it than that. We spend a good deal of time on memory improvement. We do that by reading off a long list of numbers and teaching the student to remember them. I might say 351. And after several weeks of training, the student would be able to repeat that back.
351, you say?
What?
351?
Oh, you've taken a memory course yourself, Mr.
Goulding.
Goulding, yes.
Well, I want to thank you for stopping by to talk with us, Mr. Gruber. It's been very interesting, and now I guess it's time to say goodbye.
Well, goodbye. See, how do I get out of here?
Well, it's that door right there. No, not that one. That's the closet, the other one.
All right. I've got it now. Goodbye, Mr.
Goulding.
Goulding. Yeah.
Goodbye.
Bye. Welcome again to Garish Summit and its endless story of intrigue among the socially prominent. There, in stately splendor, far removed from the squalid village below, the beautiful people fight their petty battles over power and money. As our action begins, strong-willed Agatha Murchfield is in the solarium awaiting the arrival of her lawyer, Bowden Pardue.
Oh, is that you, Bowden?
Yes, I seem to be somewhere in the entry hall, Agatha. Can you talk me in from here?
All right. Just hang a right through the music room and then cut across the west edge of the library until you get to the solarium. You can't miss it.
Very well. I'm on my way.
there you are, Bowden. Oops. It's been ages.
Yes, it has, Agatha, but that's only because the carpet cleaners had the library blocked and I had to double clear back through the dining room. I must say you're looking well, except that you seem drawn and haggard. As if you haven't slept in days.
Well, I have something preying on my mind that I need your help with, Bowden. A man has turned up here in Gary Summit who claims to be my long-lost eldest son, Caldwell.
Oh, that's shocking, Agatha. We've known each other for 40 years, and I always thought your weak-willed son, Rodney, was an only child.
Well, I thought so, too. And that's the strange part I don't understand.
Well, you're a fabulously rich widow who's inherited the world's largest chain of lead mines. The man is probably a fortune hunter.
No, I've encountered those before, but this chap definitely claims to be the son I knew I never had. So, of course, it's just his word against mine.
Well, I'm not sure. Not sure that's the case. But how can I be of help?
I want you to check out his story, Bowden. See if there's a birth certificate. Look into hospital records. Dig through newspaper files. Well, aren't you going to write down these instructions?
Well, I suppose I could if you like. Back of this envelope is blank, so all I need is a point on my pencil. Is there a sharpener around here anywhere, Agatha?
It's over there under the window by the tumbling mat.
Oh, thanks. I'll be back in a jiffy.
Well, my stars, Bowden, what are you doing over there?
It's all right, Agatha. Everything's been taken care of. There now. Shall we begin?
Well, first, I want you to find out whether a birth certificate was ever issued for a Caldwell Murchfield. Then...
Wait, just a minute. She wants me to find out.
Well, look, my word, how did a nincompoop like you ever get to be my attorney?
I don't know, Agatha. I suppose I could look in the files at my office and see if I have any documents covering that.
No, don't waste any more time. Just find out if this mysterious stranger is really my eldest son. If he is, I'll want to rewrite my will to exclude my other boy, Rodney.
I understand. Incidentally, about this young man who calls himself Caldwell Murchfield, where is he now?
Well, Rodney took him moose hunting. Caldwell had wanted to go to the bank and rummage through my safe deposit box, but Rodney insisted they go hunting first.
Were both young men carrying shotguns when they left here, Agatha?
No, I remember that part distinctly because it struck me as strange. Rodney had a gun, but he told Caldwell just to carry a shovel.
Well, Agatha, I think this has the makings of a dangerous situation.
Well, I told them that before they left. You can't bring down a moose with a shovel.
No.
But Rodney said not to worry. He said there's no space in the trophy room for another stuffed animal anyway.
Well, I'm afraid this is no longer a case for a lawyer. I'm going to call the police.
Well, I guess the police couldn't botch things up any worse than you always do. But will they hunt for those old birth records I need?
A more urgent method is involved here, Agatha. To put it as delicately as possible, one of your sons may have slaughtered the other.
Well, must Agatha now face the loss of a son that she had assumed was lost all along? Can Caldwell be a murder victim if birth records show that he never existed? And what about the blank envelope that Bowden Pardue mysteriously found in his pocket? Perhaps we'll learn more next week when we hear Rodney Murchfield say,
I know it's only a raccoon, but I thought pasting these horns on its head might make it seem like more.
That's next week when we resume our story of wealth and intrigue on Gary Summit. Well, say, here's a tip for you homemakers from the Monongahela Metal Foundry. Ladies, we all know how frustrating it is to spend a whole day polishing steel ingots around the house and still have them looking dull and lifeless. But don't blame your ingot polish for failing to do the job.
The simple fact is that many steel mills don't even try to beautify their products for use as home decorations, but not so at Monongahela, the metal foundry that casts its ingots with the housewife in mind. So why not drive your heavy-duty truck to a conveniently located Monongahela showroom today and stock up on those shiny ingots you've always wanted. You'll be glad you did.
Say, it's good to see you, Kent Lyle-Birdley. This is our
Well,
old-time
thank you.
announcer who's been with us for all these years.
Thank you
What's
very
new and
much,
exciting?
Ray. Well, not very much. I've just been waiting for you to get another program on the radio. I haven't been announcing for a while.
That tuxedo you're wearing, has to be at least 40 years old.
Yes, this goes back to the American album of familiar music when I was almost the announcer on that show.
You didn't quite get that job, though, as I recall.
No, they called me in from Pittsburgh, and I got here. They said Andre Baruch was sick. Would I come right in and announce the program? It would be my big break.
I think folks remember him as the announcer on Tea Time Tunes. That was your big show, wasn't it?
That was what I was doing in Pittsburgh, yes.
And, then you had hits and encores
Yes,
for a while.
but when I got the American album, that was the big deal.
Well,
I
it's
got
good to
here
see
and
you,
Andre
Kent.
Baruch got well, and I never did it.
That's right. Well, it's good to see you, Kent. It's
Thank
always
you.
a joy to have you walk by and bring back some great memories of yesteryear.
Yeah, stumble out,
Right.
Kent. Right now, I'd like to preview a new feature that we'll be doing on these shows called Views Behind the Views, Behind the People, Behind the News. It's a chance to discuss controversial issues of the day with well-known experts in the field.
We do want to have it understood, however, that the opinions expressed by our guests are their own and do not necessarily represent the views of the Bob and Ray organization.
Also, they should not be construed as the opinions of this station or its subscribers or members of their families.
And it must also be remembered that questions asked by the panel are not designed to reflect any particular viewpoint.
We should mention, too, that our panel members are speaking only for themselves and not as representatives of their employers or members of their families.
But in any event, this program is presented solely for the enjoyment of our viewing and listening audience, and any rebroadcast or reuse without specific permission is prohibited.
Likewise, any admission charged by owners of radio sets for listening to this broadcast is similarly prohibited.
The entire contents of this program remain the sole property of the Bob and Ray organization and may not be used for any commercial purpose by the New York Jets or the Commissioner of the National Football League.
That includes reproduction in whole or in part, Ray.
Absolutely, Bob. However, it should be understood that portions of this program may have been recorded earlier for broadcast in this time period.
Now, this is done solely for the convenience of our audience and not for the purpose of editing or deleting controversial material.
In so doing, some passages that have been retained may be considered offensive by various ethnic groups or religious organizations.
Therefore, discretion is urged among members of such groups or organizations in listening to the material presented.
Parental guidance is also suggested, and in no case shall children under the age of 16 be permitted to listen to this program.
Now, this ruling applies not only to the public at large, but also to employees of this station and members of their families.
Any application for exemption from this order must be received in our office before midnight tonight.
And on all such applications, decision of the judges is final, and in case of duplication, ties will be awarded.
However, the awarding of all prizes is subject to availability. The substitutions for announced prizes may be made at the discretion of the Bob and Ray organization.
But in any case, at least half of this program must be completed in order for it to qualify as an official broadcast.
If less than half is completed for any reason, then the entire program will be rebroadcast from the beginning at a later date, as determined by the Commission.
That's correct. Now, let's see. Was there anything else we wanted to add, or have we covered?
Yeah, some of our departing guests will receive gift packages of our subscribers' products.
Thank you for tuning in, and be sure to join us next time for a discussion of controversial issues on views, behind the people, behind the news.
The preceding program was taped before a live audience and was not scheduled for broadcast at this time.
That's right. You know, I think I see some old friends of ours, the handsomely uniformed Bob and Ray Guards.
Oh, the beautifully caparisoned guards come down, marching down the hall here to lock our studio door at the conclusion of each broadcast. I think I can hear them coming
There
around.
they come.
Here they come.
This is a ritual we've gone through for years. I don't know how many people
35
Remember-
years,
they come
these
in
guards
and
have been closing the door.
what they do is hand over the keys, making sure.
If you're ever in New York, try to get here to witness this ceremony.
Well, we don't have tickets for it, but now they're almost ready for the actual locking of the door. Always scares us when we hear that. Here it comes.
Comes there? He's Bruce King, Pops King,
This is it.
all's well. Escort the keys by the center.
The keys are now have been passed off, and the studio door is finally closed and locked for another week. Now, as much as we dislike to do it, we've got to call a halt to all this frivolity and wrap up this edition of the Bob and Ray Public Radio Program.
It was developed and produced for the Radio Foundation by Larry Josephson.
Script coordinator was Carl J. Fat Chans.
Associate producer Marjorie Van Halderen. Music by Stan Free.
Additional dialogue by Chester Hasbrook Frisbee.
Our audio engineer is Mike Moran, and funding in part is from the National Endowment for the Arts and the New York State Council on the Arts.
Now, this is Ray Goulding reminding you to write if you get work.
Bob Elliott reminding you to hang by your thumbs.
For a free picture of Bob and Ray, send a stamped, self-addressed envelope to Bob and Ray Picture, Box 5000, GPO, New York 10116. That's Bob and Ray Picture, Box 5000, GPO, New York 10116. This program was independently produced by the Radio Foundation.